I'd like to call this meeting of the Bellingham City Council to order. One announcement here. There'll be a public hearing on the dissolution of the Bellingham Public Development Authority on Monday, December 8th at 7 p.m. in the council chambers. If people could rise and join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Terry Borneman.
Here.
Jean Knutson. Michael Lillquist.
Here.
Roxanne Murphy.
Here.
Pinky Vargas.
Here.
Jack Weiss.
Here.
Kathy Lehman is excused.
Okay. We will now move into our 15-minute public comment period. For the public comment period, you can come forward, address the council with almost anything you would like. Other than things that are on the public hearing, we have one public hearing today, and that's the it's on the city budget. So I call your name if you want to come forward and give your name. And Joseph McDonald, Ken Holmes, and Marion Bedell.
Hi, my name is Joseph McDonald, and as you know, I have a speech impediment. And you can talk with animal control and tell them that you don't appreciate taking the brunt for their irresponsibility. I guess you shouldn't expect much out of people who work from 11 to 12 with an hour lunch break. Why people put you into office is beyond me. I think voting is false hope, and the population is disillusioned by it. The city of Bellingham will not control animal control. I find it odd that after a confrontation with someone's dog, I asked animal control to talk with the owner, and they avoid my phone calls afterwards. After giving a speech to city council about it, the officer has said she talked with the owners. I disagree with this, and I'm not buying into animal control's post. Yes. Thanks for everything. After that speech, I would like to now acknowledge Roxanne Murphy. She has shown interest, empathy, and concern about this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is Ken Holmes, followed by Marion Bedell, and then Steve Wilson.
Ken Holmes, Bellingham. I want to talk about the punish the renters ordinance that you plan on passing, because that's exactly what it is, punish the renters. Mr. Knutson, I heard you on the radio this morning. Good. No.
I think so.
Did I hear correctly that you said that the city has received thousands of telephone calls, emails, etc., complaining about landlords?
Not just landlords.
You need to Gene?
Well, that's a question I think that needs to be addressed. It was the words out of your mouth is all I'm asking. Was that correct? And if this did come to you from somebody else, I'd like to know who it was. Mr. Tinner has spoken on several occasions and has never said anything about anywhere close to 1,000 complaints of any kind. It should be verified. Also, you mentioned the Aloha Motel. What does that have to do with the rental ordinance? Mr. Borneman, you bragged about working with the poor in the past. Now you're throwing the poor under the bus. Mr. Tinner explained that this ordinance would have virtually no effect on beer cans, tall grass, meth. Mr. Weiss, pardon me for mispronouncing your name as Weiss in the past. I'll try and do it correctly. a week ago, you said is necessary to have this ordinance because we got to address death, injury, harm by illness. That's what you said, your words. I asked you about those very things if you had any numbers on them 6 months ago. You didn't. Did you somehow come across some numbers, please? If you did, verify them. As far as the rental being cost neutral to the city, how about making it cost neutral to the renter? Government housing, that's what you're trying to enact. BHA has 3 types of inspections. They inspect because they have a financial interest in that property one way or another. You have no financial interest in individuals' rental properties. How do you get off on your high horse and get in the middle of it? That's your fatal flaw.
Marion Bedell, then Steve Wilson. Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Madam Mayor. Marion Bedell, Bellingham. I'm going to have 2 topics tonight. One of them very quick and one a little bit longer. I hope I make it in the time frame. Number 1, new appointee to the City Council. I support and ask you to nominate Michelle McGee. Marvelous woman, powerful, experienced, capable, has everything for the community good in her heart. So, Michelle McGee for council. Water is valuable. Try doing without it. But 95% of us pay no attention to that. You turn on your faucet, you get your water, so much as you need, whatever. You must live in a Washington State city or in an area served by a water utility, and you pay them to deliver your water to you through their pipe. Note an important distinction. You are not really buying water. You are paying the delivery service to send it to you in their pipe. So where and how do they get the water that they want to send to you? After all, nature's water in the rivers, lakes, and underground aquifers of Washington State belongs to the people and is protected and managed by the state. A water utility, even as big a city as Bellingham or Seattle, has to get permission of the state to grab water from the natural sources. They have to be granted a water right, and that right specifies where they can take it from and how much and maybe even when the seasons. We'll likely agree that's a good idea. How about the people who live out in the country who do not have a water utility to serve them? Well, and pardon the pun, they'll just dig a well and take water from the supply down there, or sit a pump in a pipe on the riverbank or behind a little dam on a creek and suck it from the flow. Simple enough. So what's the problem here? Well, they may not have been given a right to take that public resource. Some way that nobody can, for instance, take a road sign from the street or cut and haul a tree from a public park. It belongs to the public. And easy to visualize for the example of the creek, how many folks can take their water from the creek? Oh, not a whole lot. They might take it all and dry up the creek so that folks downstream don't get any. That's a basic reason that the state set up the administrative system of applications for and the granting of rights to take the water from a public place. You got to ask the state, and they have to say, okay, from that place and only this much. Apply for it and have a water right granted. I see my time's running out. I'll skip to the end. So how much water has to be provided to meet the usual and accustomed fishing need? Whoops, nobody knows yet, except maybe the First Nations people. And they have not yet told us latecomers how much that is. There you have it. Learn how much water there is and how much they need, then divide up the remainder, keeping good records that match the real world, and be sure that everybody is following the rules. Just takes staff and budgets. How will you help? Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Wilson.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I'm wearing my hat as a board president of the Center for Local Self-Reliance. 6 years ago this month, you trusted us to take care of the caretaker's house at Fairhaven Park, and I would like to announce that we have our building permit, our final building permit. And even better, we have the money to finish our house project. So we anticipate this winter and spring doing the interior remodel, and late spring, early summer, adding the back porch, the disabled access, and establishing parking on site. And those have all been permitted, and the money's in the bank. So I thought you would like to know that. I do have some thanks. This is the week of thanks. So I'd like to thank your staff at Parks, starting off with Paul Luthold, but continuing on with James King, Marvin Harris, Leslie Bryson, and Liz. And in planning, Jackie Lynch, Kim Wheel. They gave us very good guidance along the way, and also Katie Franks for her inspiration, getting us off the dime at the beginning. We have had over $108,000 of contributions. About $70,000 of that was monetary, and about $37,000 was in kind. And those in-kind contributions really helped out because we needed a lot of professional help when we were permitting this. We were in a critical area above the creek there, and we had a lot of professional help on that. We've also had professional help all the way along in every aspect. It just seems to materialize and people really got behind the project. And not only that, but we have volunteers. So the money made it possible for us to buy materials, and the volunteers are the ones who did the work. We have over 1,500 volunteer hours at the house, and at least twice that on the site. We feel like we've made a really nice presentation to the city along the street on the Chuckanut Drive. We're really happy with the gardeners have been just great in bringing life to that fence. And of course the gatehouse looks beautiful, and the house looks beautiful from the outside, but wait till you see the inside. We'll have you out next summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. It's always so wonderful to see projects where we take a chance on a good cause and you exceed the expectation, which your organization has done. So thanks for the update. It's really good to hear. Yeah. Anybody, that was the last on the list. Anyone else that wants to address us, please come forward. State your name. Yeah.
You're not going to quiet me down that easily. Wendy Harris. I'm here to speak to the City Center implementation strategy. You received a briefing on this afternoon, and there's quite a bit in there that I really find disturbing, and none of it was raised and questioned. And so I'm here to do that. The first thing is that this document announces that the city's highest priority should be on actions that support private development. No, none of you were elected by corporations or the Board of Commerce. You were elected by the public to do things that support public health and safety. And our highest priority needs to be the public's best interest, not private development. And, you know, this is exactly what happened in the waterfront plan that went so wrong. So I'm asking you, please, to take a look at that policy statement because I think it's fundamentally flawed. And it gets implemented through policies such as making downtown retail development strategies one of our primary goals. I agree that it's important to develop downtown, and I'm in favor of a very dense developed downtown and old town, but my focus isn't on helping other people get rich. It's more of a balanced approach where we're really focused on those most in need and on the public. The other thing that really concerns me is the intentions towards Maritime Heritage Park. It's important to remember that park was built on a garbage dump site, and the stated purpose when we were getting grants was for restoration. We're attempting to restore Whatcom Creek as it flows into the bay, and that Whatcom estuary is one of the most important habitat areas we have. And so it's really important that we maintain that habitat corridor and that connectivity, and that's not even mentioned anymore. In fact, that habitat corridor was developed as a native plant project for the public to go through and be informed. And now one of the goals is, well, we've got to thin the plants for safety. The big concern is we've got to get rid of the homeless so that more people will come down and use the park and obviously support the merchants in the area. And, you know, the things that are being suggested are not compatible with habitat and with wildlife. Things like a dog off-leash park, pickleball, basketball, a skating park. I'm concerned that we're leasing the learning center and want to use it for something commercial like restaurants. Why aren't we helping people learn? Please take another look at that document. I have a lot more to say, but I'm out of time. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wants to address the council? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to our public hearing. We have a public hearing today on the City of Bellingham's 2015-2016 budget. Okay. So, do we have a presentation first?
No, Brian Henshaw, Finance Department. I was just going to state that the budget has been online, the city's website, since October 6th. Council has had numerous meetings with department heads to discuss and plan that budget. And tonight, it's for the opportunity for the public to come and speak about it, but I would recommend that we hold open the written comments until December 8th.
Okay. I see we have two people that have signed up to speak on the budget, Iris Mott Gibson and Wendy Harris. If you want, please come forward and address the council. If anyone else wants to speak on regarding this, please come forward and we will listen.
Evening, Council in Mayor Linville. My name is Iris from 2110 Young Street, and here tonight I'm on behalf of the Lake Whatcom Watershed Advisory Board. I just wanted to briefly thank you all for including the watershed position specialist in the budget. I think this is a great step forward and will really benefit the protection, cleanup, and restoration of the watershed and surrounding area. And I also wanted to share while I'm up here that we also really have appreciated the collaboration between council, the mayor, and the Lake Whatcom Watershed Advisory Board, and the responsiveness to our letter last spring and to our advisory votes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wendy Harris.
Wendy Harris. I'm really glad to hear that the public written record is being held open, and I'm wondering if it's possible between now and then for there to be some sort of public question and answer session, because I went through the budget, and it's a normal municipal budget, but like most municipal budgets, it doesn't really tell you a lot of specifics. It might tell you what's happening, we're doing work at this park or that park, but I don't know what kind of work. I'm interested in habitat restoration and biodiversity. I can't look at that budget and see if that's happening and where it's happening and how it's happening. And so it would be really great if we had an opportunity for the public to come forward and just maybe informally have an opportunity to talk to someone at the planning department and ask questions, and then maybe have time to write their comments in, because I can't even address some of my concerns because I don't know. The other thing that strikes me is this budget's like the year before and the year before and the year before. And that's the problem. We keep operating as if it's business as usual, and it's not. We're standing on the precipice of devastation of this planet that is so serious. We may not exist as a species. As a combination of climate change and loss of biodiversity, for the first time in human history, our survival is no longer certain. And if we die, we take a lot of other living things with us. And we've got to start rethinking things drastically and urgently. And this isn't just my opinion. You can go out there and find hundreds of studies from scientists from around the globe that have been consolidated. I'd recommend the 2005 UN Millennium Report that discusses this problem and the urgency that's needed. And so all this focus we have on private development and more, it's kind of the opposite of what we need to do. And we really, I know that we've had some efforts like, the peak oil, but I don't see these kinds of concepts and understandings being effectuated in the budget. I just see the same old. And we've got to acknowledge that's not where we are. We've got to start putting more of our priorities, our funding, and our resources into habitat restoration. We've got to stop filling in wetlands. We've got to restore connectivity. We've got to protect biodiversity. We've got to at least do a habitat, a wildlife assessment and inventory so we know what exists. And we need to be working with the county and the other cities because all of this needs, an ecosystem functions as an interconnected whole that's synergistic. And it doesn't just stop at the county boundaries, just like the Lake Whatcom boundaries don't stop when you hit the Lake Padden boundaries. We've got to all come together. And so, it's like, I feel like we have our heads buried in the sand. And we're just ignoring the reality that the life we're living now we grew up in a world that's very different than the world our children are going to inherit. And what are we doing to acknowledge that reality and to make our planet sustainable and viable? Because I don't see it reflected in anything that's in the budget. And I should at least be able to get some sort of hint. So that's my concern. Please consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the last person who was signed up for the public hearing. Is there anyone else that wants to address the council? Seeing none, I will close this portion of the public hearing and bring it back to council. I think the request to keep the written portion open makes sense. Is that the wish of the council? We will keep the written portion open until we vote on the budget. So we will then move on to reports of the standing committees. Yes, I'm on today, huh? So the first standing committee was Public Works, Public Safety, and I chaired that committee this morning. We had 3 items before us. The first was extension of lease terms for the Bellingham Railroad Museum and the Parkade Building. For the past 11 years, the Bellingham Railroad Museum has been leasing approximately 2,400 square feet of space in the Parkade Building along Commercial Street for $560 per month. This monthly payment is currently about 70% less than market rate. The lease will expire in January 31st, 2015. And the Railroad Museum would like to extend the term of the lease for another 3 years at the same rate of $560 per month. Pursuant to Section 4.88.015 B1 and 5 of the Bellingham Municipal Code, leasing space in the parkade at a below-market rate requires council approval. Accordingly, this proposal was brought forward for council decision. This morning, the committee recommended unanimously recommended approval, and I so move.
Second. Second, excuse me.
Okay, we have a motion and second before us. Any comments from anyone? Gene?
Just glad to see it. They've been so loyal and they've stayed there for so long. I know that some people think we're giving a space away, but they do a lot for that area down there, and I just hope that someday they'll be able to get something special here. They know they have a lot of irons in the fire, and I'm just glad to see it.
Yeah, I concur. All those in favor of the motion, please answer aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 6-0 with Kathy Lehman excused. The next item was a extension of lease terms for the Whatcom Symphony Orchestra in the former Federal Building. The Whatcom Symphony Orchestra has been leasing space in the former Federal Building for 2 years. The premises include a third-floor office suite with approximately 1,285 square feet that equates to 2,226 rentable square feet, including prorated building common areas, and 373 square feet of basement storage space, all for $300 per month. The lease will expire on January 31st, 2015. And the WSO would like to extend the term of the lease for 18 months at the increased rate of $400 per month, which is currently about 86% below market rate, pursuant to Section 4.88.015B, 1 and 5 of the Bellingham Municipal Code. Leasing space in the former Federal Building for below market rate requires council approval. Therefore, this proposal was brought forward for council decision. The committee unanimously recommended approval, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and second before us. Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor answer aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 6-0 with Kathy Lehman excused. The next item is a interlocal funding agreement with Whatcom County for Slater Road and I-5 compact roundabouts. Whatcom County funded the construction of 3 compact roundabouts at the Slater Road and I-5 interchange. These improvements will improve safety and level of service at this interchange, which is located within the urban growth area of Bellingham. The total cost of the improvements is estimated at $340,000. The proposed interlocal agreement provides for Bellingham to contribute $10,000 towards the project. Staff recommended approval of the agreement. Washington State Department of Transportation, Lummi Nation, and Ferndale also contributed to the construction costs. We had a good discussion about this this morning. In looking at that, this is a regional project because causes of the transportation problems are contributed, for regionally and by multiple jurisdictions. The committee did unanimously recommend approval, and I so move.
Second.
Any comments? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor, answer aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 6-0 with Kathy Lehman excused. So that was the last item in Public Works and Public Safety. Let me see. Yeah. Then we had this afternoon, under a special part of a meeting, we had 2 closed record hearings. The first was a closed record hearing to consider a petition to vacate an alley west of 15th Street centered between Taylor and Douglas Avenue. The Bellingham School District has petitioned the City of Bellingham to vacate an alley west of 15th Street centered between Taylor and Douglas Avenue near Lowell Elementary, generally located and as shown on the attachment. 3, the hearing examiner held a public hearing on October 14th, 2014. The hearing examiner's finding of fact, conclusion, and recommendations are provided in attachment 1. The draft ordinance approving this vacation is provided in attachment 12, along with the maps. Earlier today, the council approved the vacation and set the valuation as 0 because of the public good being done with this, and we voted to forward an ordinance for tonight's vote, and so I so move.
Second.
Rick. We have a motion and second before us. Any comments? All those in favor, answer aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes 6-0. And just for correction, that is the only part we have to vote on, correct? Yes. Thank you. I was thinking that was, and then I got, wanted to make sure. Okay, the next one. Okay, the second closed record hearing was to consider a petition to vacate an alley between Samish and 37th Street south of Consolidation. The City of Bellingham received a petition to vacate most of an alley between Samish Way and 37th Street south of Consolidation Avenue. Hearing examiner held a public hearing on October 14th. The hearing examiner's finding of fact and conclusion and recommendations were included in the packet. This afternoon, let me see, this afternoon, the council voted to vacate the alleyway. And we set the compensation, how was it? The compensation was set to trade for the same or equal value of property along 37th Street. And the Committee of the Whole recommended approval of the ordinance, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. Yeah, no, that's what I said we recommended approval of the ordinance. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, and so we have a motion and second before us. Any comments? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, answer aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Kathy Lehman excused. Moving right along.
This is Committee of the Terry today.
It was the Committee of the Terror. Yeah. Yes. Okay, Committee of the Whole. The first item before the Committee of the Whole today was Barclay Company recognized for the 2014 Corporation for Community Awards. The Bellingham Barclay Company recently received a 2014 Corporation for Communities Award presented by the Washington Secretary of State, Kim Wyman. The award is intended to honor companies whose philanthropic contributions have significantly enhanced quality of life in their communities. The Bellingham Public Library nominated Barclay Company for this award for the company's outstanding support of our library. Barclay Company provides a rent-free space for the Barclay Branch Library. When this partnership began in 2008, the company also provided construction and furnishings to create a welcoming, comfortable, small library. We are all pleased to publicly honor the Barclay Company for their support of the Bellingham Public Library, as well as for the many contributions this company makes to our community. This was for information only. The next item was an update. No, was an update on Whatcom Reads. Right by that. Yeah, the Bellingham Public Library Director Pam Kiesner presented an update on Whatcom Reads. The 2015 Whatcom Reads book selection is The Boys in the Boat by Daniel James Brown. Bellingham Public Library and its Whatcom Reads partners are providing for various programs in January and February that follows the themes in this book. These activities will culminate with events featuring Daniel James Brown planned for February 24th, 25th, and 26th. For more information about Whatcom Reads, including a calendar of events, can be found at www.whatcomreads.org. And this was for information only, and I really look forward to reading this book. I needed a new one to start on. And so this looks like a good one. Our next item was the setting of the 2015 City Council meeting schedule, which we did this afternoon, and I guess we probably need to vote for. Do we need to vote for approval of that tonight as well? Probably.
So our charter says that the schedule will be established by resolution. So in talking to Linda and Marie, talked about taking what you did today in the committee and putting that in the form of a resolution, and we can do it on a consent agenda at that point, if that's okay.
Okay, so I guess then I will move that we ask staff to prepare a resolution setting the dates for our 2015 meetings based on our discussion this afternoon.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second before us. Any comments? All those in favor, answer aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Kathy Lehman excused. The next item up was, let me see here. We're moving right along. No. It was an update on Access Bellingham. And staff provided an update on Access Bellingham, the city's public access component shown on BTV 10. This was for information only. And folks that would like more information about that update, it is on BTV 10. The next item was the adoption of the City Center Implementation Strategy. The City Center Implementation Strategy contains actions necessary to realize the community's vision for the City Center as described in the Downtown Plan, Old Town Sub-Area Plan, and the Waterfront District Sub-Area Plan. Each action plan contained in the strategy includes a list of actions and a timeline for implementation. The three districts are at various stages of redevelopment, therefore have different needs requiring different solutions. The action plans are dynamic and should be allowed to evolve over time because conditions change. This strategy will benefit from an ongoing review process. The committee recommended approval, and I so move.
Second.
Are there any comments? Michael.
I actually want to address the comments that were given today. As I read this plan, it's actually quite balanced. It refers to parks, environment, streets, street tree inventories, visitor programs, bike racks, wayfinding, museums, streetscape standards, parking technology. It's really quite broad. I don't think it's as narrow. I actually agree with Ms. Harris that the city shouldn't set it at its highest priorities, acts to support private development, but it's certainly a very high priority. And it does say in the context of achieving consistent with the vision in other published documents. And those other published documents, again, do not just address economic development. Economic development is one of the key components, but so are others. So on balance, I think this is actually far more balanced than that one statement would lead people to believe. So I hope people look at the entirety of the plan and see that maybe it's a bit more balanced than might be thought.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, Michael. And again, this afternoon, I wanted to thank the staff for the great job that they did putting this together and talking to as many stakeholders as they have in terms of trying to put together, this implementation strategy and the plan. Mayor.
And since the focus of this particular implementation plan is just one piece of everything we do, and I appreciate Michael's enumeration of all the things that are also in the plan, I think one of the distinctions that's made between private and public development is, of course, public development is our biggest responsibility, all of our roads and our infrastructure and our partnerships on housing and a lot of the other things we do. One of the things that I do not think that the city's been good at is trying to do their own private development. And so with the position that the Community Development Department is now taking in looking for private partners, I think that was the emphasis on that. We need to save our resources for the things that nobody else in the private sector is going to do. We are going to do them. And that includes the social services and a lot of other things that are not for-profit activities. So I just wanted to clarify that isn't our number one priority, but the priority is to find those partners that will actually invest private money in things that we would like to have happen.
Yes, thank you. Any other comments? All those in favor of the motion, answer aye. Aye. Opposed, abstention, motion passes 6-0. Kathy Lehman, excused. Okay, moving right along here. The next item today, we had a work session on the rental housing registration. The work session was a follow-up from our November 17th work session. Let me see. We have just looking to see if we've got oh, here it is. Where are we here? Okay, we had a number of motions today under the rental registration and recommendations for that today. The first was a motion to amend the rental registration draft to modify the list of exemptions from inspection so that the rental unit associations with properties containing a detached accessory dwelling unit or carriage house be required to be inspected as approved, as provided for in the ordinance, and the committee recommended approval of that today, and I so move.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of that motion, answer aye. Aye. The next was a motion to amend the rental registration draft to reflect a requirement that all rental units subject to inspection be inspected once every 3 years, provided that an exception be made for units that passed inspection or first reinspection, whereby the inspection frequency be every 5 years. We had a bit of discussion about that, but the committee then voted to recommend approval. I so move. Okay, all those in favor, answer aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 4-2 with Kathy Lehman excused. The next, there was a motion to amend the rental registration draft to read as follow. And under the 6.15.170, City Council review with a strike-through of the sunset provision. And then it would read, before January 1st, 2019, the City Council shall review the chapter's effect on the community and the problems the chapter was intended to remedy, with the rest lined out. And committee recommended approval of that, and I so move.
Second. Just a question, he's coming back, they're coming back
Yes.
with language.
Yeah, but I
You're
think
right, no, you're right, I'm just checking.
And so, all those in favor of the motion, answer aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 6-0 with Kathy Lehman excused. The last item was a motion to direct staff to prepare an ordinance reflecting the council's approved amendments to the rental registration draft for presentation at the December 15th, 2014 council meeting, and I so move.
Second? The 15th.
15th.
We changed it.
Okay, any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, answer aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes 6-0 with Kathy Lehman excused. Okay. Well, we made it through that part. Approval of minutes. Let me see.
October 27th and November 11th.
What were those, Michael? Okay, thank you. Yeah, we have approval of 2 minutes, sets of minutes. If we could do them separately, because I did miss the one. The first is approval of minutes for October 27th, 2014.
Move approval.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and second for approval. All those in favor, answer aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. The second set of minutes was for the 10th of November, 2014.
Move approval?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and second before us. All, yes?
Since I left at 10:30 and you went till midnight, can I still vote on the minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
All those in favor of the motion, answer aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? One. I wasn't there at that meeting. Okay.
You didn't
That-
watch it?
What?
You didn't watch it?
Well, I just don't want to vote right now. Old and new business, do we have any? At the afternoon meeting, we did finalize the process for our appointment, for appointment of a council person to replace Kathy Lehman upon her resignation. And that, I think that was the only old and new business that we had. What?
Oh, tomorrow night, 6:30, Birchwood Elementary, thank you from the Birchwood Neighborhood Association to the City Council and the mayor and staff.
And where was that meeting at?
Birchwood Elementary, the new Birchwood Elementary School.
Okay. Okay, that brings us to,
The work
you
session
heard,
report.
what?
The work session report out.
Oh, we had a work session on 2015-2016 biennial budget. And anyone, Michael?
I just want to comment that was the last of a series of work sessions on the budget, just on the capital budget this time. And I actually agree that there's some, our budget is kind of opaque, and if those meetings are open to the public and members could come, I'm not sure they would learn much, but we've tried to be as open as possible with the budgeting process. And I've actually talked about this openly, and so has the administration. There are things we can do to improve, I think, the presentation of the budget. And, you know, I think we can always stand to look at that again. That's all.
Okay. So that brings us to the report of executive session. We had 4 items that we heard in executive session today. The first was a potential property acquisition. Staff provided information on the potential acquisition of the Schwab property at a 10,000 square foot parcel located in the Padden Gorge, west of 40th Street and south of Wilkins Street. The purchase will assist the city in consolidating riparian forest properties in the Padden Street Gorge Greenway for stream protection and public enjoyment purposes. The city will purchase the property for its assessed value of $5,000. I will entertain a motion to authorize the purchase of said property at a purchase price of $5,000.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second before us. Any comments? All those in favor of the motion, please answer aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 6-0. Kathy Lehman excused. The next item was a potential litigation, claim number 2014-44. Staff provided information on a potential litigation matter. Direction was given, no action taken. The next was potential litigation. Staff provided information on a potential litigation matter. No direction, direction was given, no action taken. The last was litigation, Figueroa versus City of Bellingham. Staff provided information on a litigation matter. Direction given, no action taken. That's the end of the
Excuse me,
report from...
Council President. I believe on number 3, there was no direction given, no action taken.
Oh, okay. No direction given.
I
no
think
ac-
that's
I think
that's a typo.
Yeah, that's a typo in that because we did give direction, and that's why
That's my fault.
I kind of corrected on the fly when we were going through. And it's dangerous when I do that, but. Yeah, okay. But thank you for catching that because it's easy for me to miss stuff. Okay, that brings us to the mayor's report.
The mayor's report will be very short today, even though it looks long. There are appointments and information about appointments that I want to give to you tonight. I need approval on a reappointment of Jeff Brown to the Planning and Community Development Commission.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second before us. All those in favor, answer aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
And I threw community in there, it's not in there, so that could be corrected, right? Secondly, mayor's reappointment of Rob Burton and Kurt Carpenter to the Historic Preservation Commission.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second before us. All those in favor, please answer aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 6-0.
Reappointment of Denise Snyder and Margot Myers to the Bellingham Arts Commission.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second before us. All those in favor, answer aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes 6-0.
Now, these are just for information only. Appointment of Kendra Thomas as the WWU Liaison Representative and Stephen James as the Puget Neighborhood Primary Representative of the Mayor's Neighborhood Advisory Commission. Reappointment of Connie Shannon, Todd Ellsworth, Drew Schmidt, Brad Burdick, and Jody Finnegan to the Tourism Commission. And the reappointment of Darla Woolman to the Bellingham-Whatcom County Commission Against Domestic Violence. And finally, the reappointment of Bolar Smith and Ross Greer to the Bellingham Sister Cities Advisory Board. And that's just information. And I meet with all these people before I appoint them. Once I've met with them, I don't usually meet with them again, but the first time, either they're getting reappointed and I wasn't the person that appointed them first, or they're being appointed for the first time. I like to thank them for volunteering for the city and give me any suggestions or discussion about their board or commission. And then after that, I can thank them at the event that we have that many of you have been so kind to attend, when we thank the volunteers for all they do for the city. So I'm sure there are other things I could talk about, but I'm not going to.
But it is really great of how many qualified people that are willing to give their time to serve the community on these different boards and commissions.
I think there's around 200.
Yeah, makes you proud to be part of this city.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
Thank you. If I don't see any of you before, happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Happy Turkey Day.
A consent agenda.
Move approval.
Oh, I got beat.
she
That's
beat
only
you.
happened a couple times in the whole
Yes,
life. Man.
Roxanne got that. Do I hear a second, Gene?
Yes, I'll second it reluctantly.
Okay, we have a motion.
These
and
old
second.
guys have never done it.
Papa Bear gets taken out.
We have a motion and second for us. All those in favor, answer aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention? Motion passes 6-0. Final consideration of ordinances.
Agenda Bill 20622, an ordinance of the City of Bellingham, Washington, providing for the issuance of one or more series of limited tax general obligation refunding bonds of the city in the aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $6,100,000 to refund certain outstanding limited tax general obligation bonds and to pay costs of issuing the bonds, providing the form and terms of the bonds, approving an escrow deposit agreement, and delegating the authority to approve the final terms of the bonds.
Move third and final.
Second.
Michael Elquist.
Aye.
Roxanne Murphy.
Aye.
Pinky Vargas.
Aye.
Jack Weiss.
Aye.
Terry Borneman.
Aye.
Gene Knutson.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 6-0. Kathy Lehman is excused. Agenda Bill 20623, an ordinance of the City of Bellingham, Washington, relating to the levying of taxes and establishing the amount to be raised in 2015 on the assessed valuation of the property within the city.
Move third and final.
Second.
Roxanne Murphy.
Aye.
Pinky Vargas.
Aye.
Jack Weiss.
Aye.
Terry Borneman.
Aye.
Gene Knutson.
Aye.
Michael Elquist.
Aye.
Kathy Lehman is excused. Ordinance passes 6-0. Agenda Bill 20627, an ordinance amending the 2014 adopted budget appropriating an additional $70,000 in the golf course fund.
Move third and final.
Second.
Yep.
Pinky Vargas.
Aye.
Jack Weiss.
Aye.
Terry Borneman.
Aye.
Gene Knutson. Michael Elquist.
Aye.
Roxanne Murphy.
Aye.
Kathy Lehman is excused. Ordinance passes 6-0.
So I would like to wish you all a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we are now adjourned.